Good morning, everyone. Just put a one if you guys can hear me clearly on the chat. So thank you everyone. This is our 120th community meetup. So thank you everyone for being part of this initiative. We have been doing this almost for 2.5 years. Every Saturday, we try to talk about the what are happening in AI. As you know, it's something that every day something new is coming, so we have to be updated. So we do these type of initiatives. So thank you everyone for this. We try to get guest speakers as well, and if there are no guest speakers, I try to give you some update and do some live workshops on some of the emerging topics that are there. So thank you everyone for being part of this initiative today. Before I give it over to the guest speaker, the I just wanted to share my screen and give you the some of the ground house rules, if I can say, that is there. And we are also streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So we have hundreds of people joining us across social media. So welcome everyone as well on the social media streams, LinkedIn. You can also put in your questions on the Slido link. We will be having all the questions, because what we have seen that many questions get lost on the different feeds of social media as well as on the Zoom chat. So what we are doing is we will be taking all the questions. I'll be sharing this link. When you join the Zoom link, you will also get an automated direct message from Slido with this specific link. Please put your name and ask your questions. If possible, switch on your cameras. It will be great to see you amazing people out there. Mics is off by default. You can raise your hands, virtual hands in the end, and we will be giving you the option to ask your questions related to the topic of today. And as I was discussing with Mr. Hani, we will be taking all the questions at the end. So please, but if you have anything that comes to your mind, please put it on Slido at that time so that we'll be able to take it as well. And if you can see, there is a chat option. If you there is an arrow mark. If you want to not get distracted by these some chat messages, you can just remove the short chat, show chat preview, especially in your mobile where it comes on the screen. So you can do that as well and take it further. So as today you can see, we are going to talk about this topic about AI sovereignty explained. Who is the actual owner of AI? So this is a very important topic that every one of you should be aware of. Organizations, individuals, as well as everyone who is learning this technology as well as using this technology for business. So we have Mr. Hani here. He is a great friend. He is a part of our community for some time as well, and he is the CTO for data and AI solution at Dell Technologies, Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East, Turkey, and Africa region. He believes in data, AI, and generative AI being key disruptive technologies in driving the digital transformation of businesses, and is very passionate about helping organizations utilize data in their digital journey. He has over 27 years of experience in the field of telecommunication, networking, public safety, AI, and Internet of Things. So thanks a lot, Mr. Hani, to take out your time and share your immense knowledge to the community. Over to you.
Thank you, Muhammad, and salam alaikum. Good morning, everyone, wherever you are located. To be a, it's a pleasure, actually, to be joining the community and talking about this important subject. Let me share my screen, and we go share. All right, let me know when you see my screen. I'll put it in. Is it visible now, Muhammad?
Yes, we can see.
All right, perfect. So today's topic is a topic that is very dear to me. I talk about it a lot. And today I'll be explaining this topic of AI sovereignty and why every organization, whether you are a business, you are a government, you are small, medium, you should care about this and take this into consideration. The first thing that we want to start with is to define sovereignty. And sovereignty can be a very flexible word to define. But if I want to put it in a nutshell, sovereignty means having full control over where your AI workloads, i.e., applications, run, and how your data is handled, and lastly, who has access to your data. And this is important. And this uh, does not have to do with where the data geographically is located, because there are laws today that can allow entities to look at data in other geographies. For example, the US Cloud Act. So it's very important for organizations to check all this, understand the technology properly, and be able to make the right decisions on the short term and the long term, because decisions taken about sovereignty and how you want to handle this topic will always have long-term implications. And to some organizations which are in very critical fields, this is really a decision about their AI destiny. So you don't want to be locked into a vendor or a location or a provider when you take these decisions. Now, why does this matter today? Today, the topic of sovereignty actually is a topic that is popping up in every discussion that we have in the industry. And a few reasons for that. First thing is data privacy. Look, people are looking for privacy and the true privacy of their data. And some verticals are super sensitive to data privacy, to the point that nobody can look or should be looking at their data. There is regulations that are changing also. So many organizations are looking to be compliant with these regulations when it comes to data sovereignty and consequently AI sovereignty. Some organizations who have already started their AI journey could have potentially seen some performance issues, and that's why they are considering now where to put their AI workloads, because that impacts their latency and performance. And lastly, it's really future resilience. So AI is not a technology that is for today. It's something that's gonna available today, and it's going to be with us with as individuals and organizations in the futures. So it's very important to make the right decisions today to be able to be resilient in the future. Now, uh, I would like to define 3 levels of sovereignty. This is really important to understand for every organization who wants to deploy AI. First level is deploying your workloads, your applications in a hyperscaler or a public cloud, where your systems, everything you do is running in the hyperscaler. uh, and this also dictates that your data, consequently, will probably be in the hyperscaler. So this is hyperscalers like Amazon or AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or others. The other level that is available there, or choice for organization, is to host in a local cloud service provider, which means either a local provider in the country or there are some regional providers. Okay? And the third choice is to run your workloads in your own data center, where nothing leaves your data center. So these are the different levels. Now, each one of these have consequences, and decisions you make where to put them will have also long-term implications. With hyperscalers, they are international companies. They have their own rules and regulations, and they follow typically the laws and regulations of the countries where they originated. So, for example, U.S. Cloud Act is a law that applies to hyperscalers in the world wherever they are operating. Okay. Local service providers are entities that are in country. They are typically created in the country and under the country's jurisdiction. So there's more control of the country on that local service provider. And in the third case, where it is in your edit center, only you as an organization have full control over data and AI workloads that are running. Now, whenever an organization needs to make a decision on where to put their AI applications or workloads, these are the considerations that they need to think about. For example, how secure is the access? What is the time to value? What is the cost initially and over time? And data privacy, data residency, and accuracy and control. So this is always the question that you need to think of, or the questions that you need to think of as organization. Do I put it in my own data center, or do I put it somewhere else, which is even a local service provider or in one of the public clouds? What we are finding out is that the most pressing two items here in this list are cost and data residency. Cost in terms of rising cost potentially when you grow, if you go into the public systems, and where costs sometimes become unpredictable because it depends on your utilization, your consumption. So this becomes unpredictable. And a lot of organizations do not prefer unpredictable costs. They prefer fixed cost every month. And data residency, of course, because taking your AI workloads to a public place outside your data center means that your data will have to follow. Another thing that you need to consider also as an organization is what we call data gravity. And data gravity refers to the concept that data, AI workloads need to work on data. So wherever your data resides, the bulk of your data, you should try to, as much as possible, to have the AI workloads run next to this data, because otherwise you'll have to move this massive data into somebody else's data center. And typically, this is an item that prohibits many organizations from taking this decision. So they would have tested probably in a public cloud on a small data set. But if it's time to generalize and use all the data they have in that use case, they typically have to take massive data into the hyperscaler, and this is where they stop and they reconsider. So very important to look at data gravity, and of course data privacy, like I said. And there are some verticals that are very sensitive to data, and to the point I would say even our closest friends, we always have to hide some data from them. So not everything as an organization that I have is public or should be shared publicly. Every organization will have some kind of data that it does not want to share with anybody at all. So how do you make the decision? And this is not an easy, it's not something that you need to decide like quickly. You need to really give it a lot of thought. The first thing that we want to talk about is assessing your requirements. So are you in an industry which has compliance requirements or mandates? How sensitive is your data? And typically, not all data in the organization will have the same sensitivity level. And of course your budget constraints. Are you okay? What is the level of spending that you are willing to do? Are you okay to have some capex expenditure at the beginning to have, for example, AI workloads run in your data center, or do you prefer to have an opex model from day one and continue on opex regardless of how much this opex might be per month? The next thing that you want to evaluate is data and data gravity, which means where is the bulk of my data? Am I a manufacturing company, for example, and I have a plant, and most of my data is in the plant, is in the manufacturing plant? In which case, it doesn't make sense in a lot of cases to take that data from the plant into hyperscaler, and that's where you run your workloads within the plant. And today, technology allows us to run AI at edge locations because infrastructure has become powerful enough to enable us to do that. So where your data, the bulk of your data is very important. And of course, trade-off, which is uh, both investments from a monetary perspective and from a technology perspective. A lot of organizations go into public clouds and they might rely heavily on the tools of public clouds. And what we have seen is that they get somehow locked into these tools. I've seen this in many startups who start in the public clouds and they build their stack with heavy dependency on public cloud tools. But then they get a customer who wants to run their application on-prem. and they struggle to migrate this architecture from a public cloud into an on-prem, because it's, if you think about it, it's not really a migration, it's a re-architecture of the whole stack. If you want to go from heavily dependent public tools into an on-prem architecture. And for many organizations, the choice actually is not either this or that. A hybrid model actually is the what we have seen mostly in the industry. And actually, a lot of industry organizations today, they start their proof of concepts in public clouds to prove the case, test on a small data set, make sure that they are getting some return on investment on that use case, especially with generative AI. And then when it's time to scale, they look on how to scale it on-prem. They could do this also with the local CSPs also. They can rent some capacity there, do some POCs, and then move things on-prem. So this is like a high level of how an organization should go about making decisions, where to put their workloads. Of course, in some cases where the application is already running and your data is already running in a public cloud, adding some AI features on in the cloud is the correct choice. When it's a green field and you want to start, make sure to make the right decision, because like I said, it affects things on the long run. With this was a quick overview of the topic. This is my LinkedIn, this is my Instagram. I'll stop sharing now and I'm ready to take any questions.
Yes, thanks a lot for this. You went through a lot of terminologies that people should be aware about, especially when they're talking to business and making the roadmap of these technologies. So,
Correct.
one of the biggest questions that I get asked when I'm doing advisories is, uh, where will be my data?
Mm,
And even if it is an LLM, even if it is a very basic, simple AI chatbot, the first question is like, where is going to be my data reside? Is it like, even if I use the LLMs, is it going to go to the cloud? Is it going to come back? So this is one question that really comes up in every meeting.
mm.
So, and these type of information that you mentioned, what do you feel that, what is the correct message that we need to educate the businesses, especially who want to start using these technologies and are still not convinced about the data sovereignty, and now we have AI sovereignty and all these concepts.
Mm. Very good question, Mohammed. Actually, there's a big misconception in the industry that this generative AI, which most people refer to as ChatGPT, this is what everybody refers to, can only be done outside your data center and in hyperscalers, which is not true. You can definitely do these things very privately in your own data center. Now, when it comes to data, uh, any organization should understand and know that if you start using public LLMs, it means the data is going out when it's time for inferencing to the public LLMs. And to me personally, when something goes out, it becomes public forever. And actually, I've heard in the past week instances from customers who said, we found that our data has been shared publicly. They, of course, they have rules, regulations, preventing or trying to ask employees not to share data publicly, but they found out that it did leak, which proves that anything you share publicly becomes, with LLMs, becomes public. uh, and this is very important to understand, that you can inference, you can have the LLMs today, very powerful LLMs, which are open source, to put it in your data center, an equivalent of GPT-5, or maybe not as powerful as GPT-5, but in many cases you don't need the power of those public LLMs for certain use cases. The open source LLMs today are as powerful almost as the public ones, and you can easily deploy them in a very cost effective way in your data center and have all the inferencing lifecycle happen within the data center.
Yes, thank you for this. Thank you for this. Let me just check the Slido. Guys, if you have any questions, please ask in the Slido. This is where we'll be taking these questions, and this is a very important topic, especially when you're working with clients who are looking for specific solutions that are there and are confused what to do. So I think there is one question from Ahmad Al Jasim. Shall I read it out?
Sure, yeah, go
It's
ahead.
on Slido, yeah, sure. So he's asking, how would you define AI sovereignty beyond data localization? What dimensions should organization truly care about? Some examples he has given: governance, infrastructure, legal control, etc.
Mhm. So, well, you mentioned governance. Governance is very important, and actually looking at your intellectual property. Okay, so even if there are no rules for data privacy in the country, or even if you are in an industry which is not regulated and does not have any compliance, basically, rules, you should, as an organization, look at your intellectual property. Okay, something that you protect very dearly as an organization as your data. If you think about it, what is it, the one thing that those public LLMs don't have? It is your data. And they are continuously going after your data in a way in another because they want to enhance their engines. And I think truly this is the data that you should be protecting very, very dearly and avoid, leaking it into public. Now, does that mean I cannot use this technology? Absolutely not. Today, there are ways, and we're doing it like on almost a daily basis, where you can use the power of this technology, use the power of LLM and generative AI in general, and do it privately on your data.
Yes, thanks. Thank you for that amazing answer. So, some anonymous has put a question. I request people, when you're putting your questions, if you can put your name, I can read it out as well. He is asking this question about how do you see, and now talking about regulations, how do you see the balance between national regulations like the EU AI Act and the organizational autonomy in shaping sovereign AI practices?
That's an interesting question. Of course, depending on where the organization resides, they have to abide by the rules of the country that they are in. But like I said, there are rules and regulations that go across borders. And any organization should be looking at this. And I go back to this US Cloud Act. So US Cloud Act, for example, says that the US government has the right to look at the data of hyperscaler in any country for any customer. And so this is a border crossing act that any organization should be looking at. If as an organization you're okay with this, then putting things publicly might be the right choice for you. But if you are an organization which do not want anybody to look at your data at any point, then you need to consider other options like a local CSP, where it's under the rules and regulations of the country, okay, or your own data center where you set your own rules for privacy, basically.
Yes, because like whatever you're saying, these are one of the most important things in any discussions that we have with projects is all these small topics.
Mhm.
And this is very important because running AI models is the easy part, but
Yeah.
getting all this infrastructure set up, regulations, governance, understanding all these things are very important. So, and everyone, I know these are the boring topic, this is a boring topic, but it is very important for all of you to understand this that is there. One question that is coming in, this is from Anonymous again, and I told this is an interesting question, and maybe you can, if you had to explain this same concept to
Mhm.
a ninth grader, what would you say?
Oh, okay. So being non-sovereign is like having a house, having all security and alarm systems and cameras on the house, including a very big wall, and then having the key with the house with somebody else. That's exactly how being non-sovereign. So you can build the most secure house and live in it and have it fortified and with cameras and surveillance. But then you are giving the keys to the house to somebody else.
Yes, very, very, very good analogy that is
Yeah.
there. So, okay, one more person is asking this question, and this is related to enterprises who are
Mm,
operating. And I think you answered a part of this in your previous question, but
mm,
I'll just repeat this question. And if you want anything more to add, who
sure.
are operating across multiple jurisdictions,
Mm,
what practical first steps help them achieve data and AI model sovereignty without stalling innovation?
mm. By the way, innovation and being innovative and deploying AI and the location do not uh, do not conflict. Basically, you can still be very innovative but very private and under control. So this is now what I would ask to me if I'm considering any organization or any provider. Actually, I would ask them to be very clear about their data of sovereignty, about who has access to my data. And this question actually has been asked by many organizations in Europe. I mean, I will not mention names, but you can Google now. A lot of organizations, government organizations, are asking providers to tell them about how secure the data is and if they can guarantee that nobody is looking at this data. So I'll leave it to you to Google this and find out, what the news says.
Yeah, yeah, that is correct. You need to do a lot of research, and these things that we are discussing, it's still there is no specific rules. It is still we are companies, governments are evolving as the technologies are moving. There is two sectors of thoughts that are there, and I maybe Hani, I will ask your suggestion as well
Mm,
about this. Right, there are two thoughts about these things that are happening. One is people who feel that AI is amazing technology, it is going to benefit a lot everyone, the businesses, the humans. And there is one sect of people, example Jeffrey Hilton and others, yeah, who are talking about the other part of AI, right? How to be prepared so that uh, we don't see AI take over us. I'm sure you have seen the interview that he had done recently with Charles.
mm,
It was a
mm-hmm,
2 hours interview that he had done in details where he was talking
mm-hmm.
about the short-term risks and the long-term risks.
Yes.
And we all of us we know about the short-term risks like cyber security and other things that are happening, which companies are spending billions of dollars to fix that. But the long-term issue like the existential risks of humans and AI getting control over us is something that the scientists and all organizations and regulations should take care of now,
Mm,
because no one can control the innovation, because it is again going to be a competition between countries. We don't want to name any countries here, but no one can stop because everyone tried to stop and regulate innovations in AI, but they cannot do it. That if one country does it, the other country will become leaders in that, which is a big, even uh, it's a risk for them. So, what are your
sure.
thoughts on that? Have you seen that interview? Is it, are you on which side are you more on?
Being in the technology, I like to always look at the positive side of technology. Just like any technology that we had. Um, and I tend to think about AI not as a technology or something that's a wave that's coming. It's and many experts are saying this is a turning point in economy. It's something that's going to change the world. Now, rightfully, like you said, Muhammad, there's a race between governments, businesses, countries to acquire this technology and always be ahead. Will it have some downsides? Will it have some bad effects? Yes, just like any technology. Any technology will have some effects that are, like maybe Jeffrey Hinton describes. I think he takes the very, he looks at the empty part of the cup. I like to always look at the, full side of the cup. I think of it as a technology that's gonna enhance the businesses, make them more profitable, increase our productivity as individuals, and in the end, it all depends on us and how we want to use it. Now, is the question, should we look at AI, adopt AI? The answer is no. Definitely, you should look at AI. You should adopt AI. It's not a matter of should I do it or should not I do it. It's if you don't do it, you are definitely falling behind as an organization and as an individual. So adoption is a must. Now, how fast you want to adopt and how you will determine how much success you will have in the future. So I like to stay positive and look at it from a positive way. And if I look at the tools today around us, especially on the personal productivity levels, they are really amazing. They are opening, the doors for somebody sitting in the middle of nowhere with some internet access and a laptop to do some vibe coding, create an app, and go online and make money, start a business. You know, a group of individuals today, 2 3 people can start a business which needed 100 people before. So this is all positive. I think it's going to open the floor to anybody to adopt this technology and use it.
Yes, what I also, as you said, I am also on the same page with you. But the problem, what I feel, this is a little bit different from the internet. This technology, and especially that's the reason why we started this community and these
Mm,
academy things that are there. At least bring the correct awareness, and at least people should know about the dangers of AI. What
mm,
Jeffrey Hinton is telling, he's also in the end of the interview, why is he doing this when people are at the age of 76? Why is he doing this? Is he just wants to create awareness.
yes,
People should be at least aware, like if what can AI do,
yes.
what is the, if it is not, if it is left uncontrolled, if it is left uncontrolled without any regulations, and all the people coming together and at least putting some rules, and it is going to happen
Mm,
eventually. It will happen, because that is how humans are. They have to exist, so they will figure out ways to do that, and that is what I feel as well. And but all of the people right now, at least who are listening to this call on our platforms or social media, at least be aware that it is not all we say that word, right? The grass is not green completely on the other side. You have to see the other side as well, at least learn about it and take it further, because there was one question as well on Slido,
mm,
and you have answered this slightly as well. uh, when Jeffrey Hilton and others warn about losing control over increasingly agentic systems. When I say autonomous systems, how does sovereignty intersect with this concern about AI control?
mm.
So this is a good question that is clubbing what we are discussing about Jeffrey Hilton's interview
Yeah,
and about your topic.
yes. So with agentic AI, we're gonna replace probably full workflows or maybe full teams with agents that are running autonomously. Now, the topic of sovereignty becomes more pressing with agents and agentic AI. Reason being is that agentic AI systems have access to your actual systems because they can take actions, and this makes them, more dangerous to making wrong decisions or to make it to privacy. And that's why when you look at agentic systems, actually you should be looking at sovereignty more and more. So, and today there are ways to run agentic systems completely on-prem in a private data center. You don't have to run them publicly. So agentic actually, and the move to agentic systems also is even a more reason to think about sovereignty of your system, sovereignty of your data, who has access to your data actually. And I was looking for a slide actually, Muhammad, earlier, and I want to just share it with the audience, which I've always liked to show to the audience about public LLMs and the use of public LLMs. It's a slide that I built actually just to show people what it means when you inference, when you use public tools, whether on the, you want to take it on the personal level. So this is, consider this is your organization here, and this is the public domain. This is the internet, the public, what everybody sees everything basically. So if you are sitting there and writing a prompt, the prompt has your data, or you are attaching a file sitting at your computer, and you are say send this to a public LLM like or a public tool like ChatGPT or Anthropic or Perplexity. What you're doing is that your data is going there, is being tokenized, and it's going to the internet. Your data reaches a public service, and then the inferencing happens here, and then you get the answer. But reality is here, what happened is your data has gone beyond your organization's uh, perimeter. What you can do, and most people think that this is not possible, is the other way, which is you do the same thing here, and that's where we're talking about true sovereignty or maximum sovereignty and control, where you are doing the same thing here, and you're sending the data. The LLM, everything happens here. Your data is already here, and then you get the answer. So if you notice here, everything stays within your organization and nothing gets leaked out. This is a very simple concept, yet not understood by a lot of people. And like I said, when something goes public, it is public forever, no
Yes, yes.
matter what guarantees somebody might tell you.
Yes, and also if you might notice nowadays the default settings, like I just told about LinkedIn, that whatever message that we put on LinkedIn, by default, LinkedIn is using that for training their AI model, and that is the toggle is on by default. You
Yes,
have to go and switch it off if you don't want that to
exactly.
happen. So this is
Why?
something.
Because it's a free service, and when it's a free service, your data is the merchandise, whether it's ChatGPT, LinkedIn, Anthropic, all these tools. So I would be very careful on a personal level and on a business level what I share with these tools.
Yeah. Rizwan Khan is asking this question that organization data are being used, and this is a good question that I also had in mind,
Mm,
because end of the day, this is in cybersecurity also we know that the weakest linkage is humans, the employees. However complex systems that you have, and you just described that as well, that however complex system that you have, but you give the keys to someone else, then those systems don't matter at all. So same thing like this, especially when organization data that are being used on employees personal devices, as some organization restrict the use of chat gpt or AI tools on the computer, how can organization control these type of data leakages that are there?
mm. So today, many organizations, and actually where I worked at Dell Technologies was one of those, when as soon as these public tools start appearing, and everybody has the urge to use them because they are really beautiful. They help you in productivity. They do things for you. So we get a warning that do not share public information, sorry, private information, customer information, or anything sensitive. Do not share it with these tools. But also eventually, there are now solutions that monitor this for you. So they might allow you to use ChatGPT, but they will block you from, for example, attaching a file to ChatGPT. Now, still, you can still share information in the prompt, because people think that the prompt is not private. It's very private actually. What you write in the prompt, and your prompt could be 200-300 pages in some cases, okay, can have very sensitive data, and this also goes out if you prompt today. Uh, Now, preventing employees from using these tools and not giving them an alternative will result in the employees trying to find alternative on their own or bypassing the rules and the regulations. So my advice to organization is, instead of blocking these tools, is to give organizations alternatives, good alternatives to use this privately. Okay? So because eventually people will want to use these tools.
And also, you might have heard this was a very famous case that happened with Samsung. Some of the developers put their confidential code on ChatGPT for debugging, and then that got public, and it was a big issue that happened. So you have to be very careful. And again, it goes back to the same thing that 10 years back we had awareness sessions for all the employees. I remember when I was in Accenture, and they had a mandatory infosec training for every employee that used to join, and every year they used to refresh those trainings. So same nowadays in Accenture, some of my colleagues are telling, maybe in Dell will also have that, that they have trainings to tell people, to employees, about these things that we are discussing, not to use any confidential information or any company information on these AI tools, however safe it is. So
Correct.
try to use some other in-house tools or Microsoft Copilot, which is with the license of your enterprise license that is there. So these things are very important, because at the end of the day, employees are using your information in whatever way, and they should be also educated about these things that are there. Let me just take a couple of more questions that are there. One question is coming about ROI.
Mm.
So regarding the return of investment, uh, how can leaders measure this, the ROI of AI sovereignty beyond compliance,
Mm.
to show it drives resilience and long-term competitiveness?
Actually, it's a very good question. So, like, a cost is one actually is one of the big determining factors when considering when to put AI workloads. And this is a discussion we have with customers all the time. And actually, I encourage you to Google a study that we did. Just Google the keywords ESG, Dell, cost of inferencing. If you Google this, there is a study that we did and we published that shows what is the implication, a comparison between an on-prem installation of your AI workloads using infrastructure as a service from a public provider and using API calls from a public provider. And it compares the three options for a certain situation, a fixed situation that you want to consider. And it gives you a lot of points to think and considerations if you are thinking of ROI, how to think about it, because in the end, these systems are deployed for years. So you want to be calculating your ROI not instantly, okay, where, for example, a hyperscaler might look very cost effective on the short term. Okay? But on the long term, you need to consider other factors, and that's what this study looks at. It's a 12-page study. It's available publicly. I encourage you, if you are considering this, to look at it. It's a good learning document actually of what you should be considering and what to ask your providers actually.
Yes, I have added that link. I just searched the link and I've added the PDF on the chat as well. I will share in the WhatsApp community. All of you can look at it. It looks nice. I just had a quick 1 second view. It looks amazing. I will spend some time and read this. There is one more question we'll take. This is the last question, and then we'll move to the closing thoughts that are there. This is a question, maybe if you want to answer, let me just refresh. He's asking specifically about how is Dell using these technologies in their workplace?
Mm, very good question actually. So like I said, instead of preventing us from using public tools, by the way, we can still using public tools, but the company has put very clear rules and regulations on using public tools. So we're not allowed to share any sensitive information about the company, anything that is not public, any customer information with the tools. But at the same time, the company has made available for us tools as alternatives. So for example, we have our own Dell sales chat, our own chat engine that is internal to the company. It's private, and the nice thing about it is that I can, when I chatting with it, I can use it to search in our company knowledge, and I can also make it search publicly. So I can make it look like ChatGPT, it searches the internet, or if the data I'm interested in is something that our customers don't have access, but as an employees we have access to it, we can only restrict it to search internally. And the other thing that is nice about this tool is that it started adding agents for us. So each one of us as an employee has agent helpers that help us do our work. So if I'm preparing for a meeting with a customer, I can just put the customer name, and that agent will go do a lot of research for me about the customer and prepare a report and give it to me so I can read it and have a summary before I go into this meeting. Or if I want to discuss certain topics with a customer, the agent will help me suggest how to tackle the meeting. So a lot of productivity tools that are available to us in this tool.
Yes. This is amazing. This is amazing. Yes. Someone is
Yes,
mentioning it's like
enterprise.
enterprise copilot.
Yes, I think it's called RAG, enterprise RAG. I mean, most of these things, the platforms actually, they are RAG based, retrieval augmented generation based, because they work on your company data. And yes, that's what we built. We built an enterprise wide RAG system that is very powerful, to the point even now some of our SharePoints within the company are hidden, and you can only access them through the tool, because this tool actually makes searching for data within the enterprise, and you can imagine we have tens of thousands of SharePoints in the company, makes it very easy to find the data very quickly and very precisely.
Yes, yes. Thanks a lot for this. And now, as I was, we will. Questions are coming in. I request people to put in the Slido. We'll try to answer everything later as well. What I wanted to take from you, Hani, is one more thing that I was just discussing you, because a lot of people here are learners, especially myself as well, trying to learn these technologies and try to use it for the work, for businesses or whatever it is. What will be your message? Because you're talking to a lot of leaders as well. How can people prepare? Because in our community there are a lot of people who are getting into the industry for the first time. There are a lot of people who are transitioning into this industry. So what will be your unfiltered advice to the community who are on the Zoom as well as listening us on social media?
I would say, if you have made the decision to switch to pivot to AI, just like I did 3 years ago, I think it's a very wise decision, because that's a technology that's gonna stay with us moving forward. So this is a very hot domain. Of course, you have to be prepared to be in a very, very hot technology that is very dynamic, changing by the day. So there is no room for being relaxed when you are in this domain. My biggest advice to people, whether they're starting their journey or even pivoting into this domain, is to learn the basics. Make sure that you have a solid understanding of the basics of this technology, which is something I see a lot today in the industry, that a lot of people don't understand how AI works, what the implications of AI are, what is the formula to make AI projects work. So, the foundation, data foundations. You need to understand how data works, how AI algorithms work, what it takes to run these algorithms. There's a big skill gap today in the industry when it comes to AI skills. So I think this is a very hot area that to get into now. And if you educate yourselves with the basic foundations, make sure you have the foundations. You're good for you're good for a nice journey ahead.
Yes, thanks a lot, Hani. I have shared your LinkedIn on the chat. Anyone who wants to connect, and this is a what I say, this is just a thought provoking session to everyone who is curious about AI, who wants to learn about AI. I have shared Mr. Hani's LinkedIn profile. You can connect with him. And before we close the sessions, I know there were a lot of questions on the chat and on the LinkedIn as well. You can put it on the Slido. We will try to answer everything. We will try to get back or make a recording and put it out if we did not answer everything. So before we wind up the call, any closing thoughts, Mr. Hani, for today's session and all the questions that you answered? But thank you. Got a lot of variety of questions. So we tried to answer as much as possible. It was a great questions from the community. So thank you. Last closing thoughts before we wind up the call for the day.
Thank you first, Muhammad, for having me. It's good to be in the community from time to time and contribute. I really like to bring these hot topics, which are, being discussed in the industry, to the community. And I encourage everyone, this was just a quick, 1 hour chat, but I encourage you all to read about data sovereignty, AI sovereignty, and make sure that you consider these when you are deploying your AI applications.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you, every one of you. If any one of you can switch on your cameras just for one screenshot before we close the call for the day, it will be amazing. Yes. Anyone else before we just take one screenshot? And by the way, we had Mr. Dr. Nader patiently listening to us the whole session. Dr. Nader Ghazal. So thank you, Dr. Nader Ghazal, and everyone who were there in this call. Let me just take one screenshot and have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.